There is no end to the F1's new engine regulation saga, and it seems that Scuderia Ferrari are willing to risk it all by taking a political stance. But is it all too little too late? In today's video, we reveal what Ferrari is so unhappy about, and what questionable actions the F1's oldest supplier of engines has taken to try and turn things back in their favour in the race for the best 2026 compliant engine. Stick around to find out why Ferrari fans feel that they betrayed Enzo Ferrari, and why some fans wish the Italian giant had used their veto when they had the chance. The 2026 F1 season will see the introduction of a new power unit formula. This will be the first change to the power unit formula since the FIA introduced the current V6 turbo hybrid engines in 2014. There will be an increase of up to 50% in the amount of electrical power generated by the upgraded power units in comparison to the current levels. The FIA claims that the power units will maintain comparable performance to the engines that are now in use. The present 1.6-litre V6 internal combustion engine will continue to be used in the power unit that will be launched for the 2026 season. However, the fuel flow limit will be reduced, resulting in approximately 400 kilowatts of power being produced by the power unit. As expected, the current MGU-H component of the hybrid system will be totally removed, while the total power generated by the power unit's energy recovery system, or ERS, will increase to around 350 kilowatts. The FIA claims that all racing fuels that will be used for the new power units in 2026 will be 100% sustainable fuel. In addition, fuel flow rates will now be measured and limited based on energy, rather than the mass or volume of the fuel itself. Alterations to the competition rules will be made in response to the launch of the new power units for the year 2027 onward. Each and every driver will still be restricted to a maximum of 3 internal combustion engines for the duration of a season, in addition to 3 turbochargers, 2 control electronics units, and energy reserves. However, drivers will only be allowed 3 exhaust sets, which is 1 fewer than the currently permissible 8 exhaust systems. Additionally, drivers will only be allowed 2 MGU-Ks, which is 1 fewer than they currently have access to. It is required that all power unit suppliers that want to take part in the new era of power unit regulations, which will be kicking off in 2026, register within the stipulated deadlines. The registration date for power unit manufacturers for 2026 was originally set for the middle of October 2022. However, it was later extended to the end of November. By the end of the year, Audi Formula Racing, F1's newcomer, and the already established engine manufacturers of Alpine SAS, Honda Racing Corporation, Mercedes-AMG high-performance powertrains, and Red Bull powertrains had registered. But there was one huge omission from the list, with Ferrari SPA yet to officially confirm its presence beyond 2025. But why hasn't Ferrari SPA registered for the 2026 F1 power regulations? The Maranello team does not agree with how Red Bull powertrains, or RBPT, would be treated as a new manufacturer, especially when considering that Red Bull has access to Honda's intellectual property. And the two parties realized that there was no room for collaboration beyond the 2025 Formula 1 season. RBPT returned those IP rights to Honda unused. This came after Honda Racing president Koji Watanabe recently confirmed that HRC's commitment was to make sure it had a seat at the table to discuss a new regulation for the 2026 power units. Scuderia Ferrari feels that a structure like Red Bull powertrains cannot be seen as a new engine manufacturer, given that the Milton Keynes side is basically the same as the one created from the collaboration with Honda, and the inevitable technical transfer would make it easier for them to develop the engine. The Red Bull department is, in fact, created around a group of ex-Mercedes engineers who've left the German side to join the ambitious project headed by Christian Horner. Manufacturers that are new to Formula 1 are given some advantages, such as more opportunities for testing and more leeway on the dynamo meter, in the hopes that they will be able to compete with the performance of the existing engine suppliers. New manufacturers also get a concession in the power unit cost cap that has been introduced. This is set at $95 million for the 2023-25 seasons, then $130 million from the start of the new engine rules in 2026. But new manufacturers joining in 2026 are allowed an extra $10 million for each of 2023 and 2024, and $5 million for 2025. Scuderia Ferrari is totally against the idea of giving Red Bull such benefits when they are simultaneously working with Honda. As a result, Ferrari wants to get in the way by using its right to veto Formula 1 rules, which it has retained as part of the new Concord Agreement signed in 2021. after the incident with the first report of the 2021 budget cap, in which Red Bull was found to have exceeded the spending limitations. Ferrari wants precise guarantees of fairness without being faced with surprises. Ferrari's refusal to formally sign up to be part of the 2026 regulations led to them being banned from a recent meeting of Formula One power unit suppliers. Reports state that the Italian team is now showing its intention to finally use its political power to handle the situation. In the past, Ferrari has too frequently been complacent or submissive in its political decisions, but this time they appear to have decided to use its power. But isn't it too late? Ferrari and other power unit suppliers should have used their political decision to counter the 2026 power unit regulation. When you take a closer look at the 2026 power unit regulations, it's clear that Formula One intends to focus much more on entertainment and business than technological research. This is a sign that the highest category of motorsport is no longer interested in being the pinnacle of research that should be transferred to the production of road cars, but rather the focus is on a show through performance leveling and the introduction of standard parts that stifle innovation. The general consensus is that Formula One has capitulated to the demands of Porsche and Audi, who wish to be in a favourable position upon their entry into F1, and as a result, specified the terms under which they would compete in the sport. Additionally, the VW Group has demonstrated its political clout at the negotiating table by unhinging a history that spans over 70 years, and Liberty Media had no problem pushing the rules in the direction of a very American vision of racing, which is very different from the European tradition, which is whoever has the best driver and builds the most competitive car wins. With these actions, Formula One's promoter, Liberty Media, hopes to create a competitive formula that can support itself financially and is driven by the logic of profit. At the same time, the FIA supports the plans that the Americans have, but what is most intriguing is the fact that the major engine manufacturers that are currently active in Formula One don't seem to be bothered by the course that the sport is on. Now, rather than searching for new innovations, it's more of a marketing operation for different brands, and the Formula One Racing Championship just cannot go in that path, where entertainment takes precedence over actual content. It's clear that John Elkann and Benedetto Vigna have embraced and accepted the vision of the FIA and Liberty Media, because Ferrari voted in favour of this revolutionary change in the FIA World Council, of which it is a member. In the event that Scuderia wanted to protect the fundamental characteristics of Formula One, it might have rejected the change by exercising its rights to veto. Nevertheless, Ferrari chose not to use this power. Inside the Ferrari racing department and outside among fans, there's a lot of disappointment for what seemed to many as a betrayal of the wishes of Enzo Ferrari, the founder. The fact that Red Bull has made the step to register as a new power unit supplier for their powertrain is what has forced Ferrari to refuse to sign on to the new engine agreement. It was even thought that they would consider using its veto power to overrule Red Bull's, something Ferrari have in their back pocket as a historic team in F1. It is uncertain at this point whether or not this will end up happening. Formula One will want to steer clear of that controversy and look for a way to keep Ferrari competing in the sport at the same time. We think Ferrari will give in to this pressure and join the other powertrain manufacturers. Do you think F1 will give in to Ferrari's bidding, or will Ferrari be back with the tail between their legs?